Welcome to the Infinite Musician Podcast. I'm Dan Weiss, creator and owner of MFile Music Theory and Songwriting. We are all about helping you gain control of your creative passion and power so you can become the musician you are supposed to be, making the most impact with your music by creating the music that you hear in your head. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about writing melodies. This is the fundamentals that every musician and songwriter needs to know about writing better melodies. So fundamental number one, map out chord tones. So whether you're starting with just a melody or a chord progression idea, identifying the chord tones or potential chord tones can be a massive, massive help. If you know the notes in the chord that you will be playing underneath each part of the melody, you can gain more insight into how those notes will play off of each other, add more tension, or create a stronger resolution. This will allow you to unify the melody and the chord progression. Make them become more one thing, move them together. Not just one slapped together with the other with duct tape or something. And you've probably written songs where you're like, it feels like something's missing. Maybe it's that it doesn't feel like a complete song, it feels like parts. So it may take a bit of time, but looking for these hidden notes in your melodies can give you the option to adjust them in ways to benefit the song. If you're starting with a melody first before a chord progression, remember that chords will usually change at the beginning of a new bar. So getting an idea of where a few chords could potentially be placed can put you on the right path to which ones might be placed there based on what melody notes are being used at the time. Even this doesn't have to be set in stone, but it can be a really great starting point to use as a framework to play around with and change and adjust and adapt after the fact. So, fundamental number 2, identify target notes. So, planning where you are going helps you aim in a specific direction and make sure that you actually get there. This seems really simple, but it's also a simple thing to forget when you're sitting down to conjure a masterpiece from thin air, right? This is helpful in developing a melodic idea, adding embellishment, and providing yourself with more control over where your song actually goes. So the idea here is to look ahead. Identify some of these juicy notes that you could choose in a particular situation. Maybe there's a note in the idea you were playing around with, or perhaps you know a certain note would sound really amazing over a certain chord change. So it is important to remember that a target note may not be a chord tone. So while a chord tone played in the melody will fit really nicely over the chord that's being played, you should be experimenting with different non-chord tones, because this can have a whole crazy range of effects, from beautiful to haunting to downright nasty. And when you know the important goal points to hit, you can now plan to approach them in the most fitting way possible, to the benefit of the song as a whole, to the listener, and to yourself, by improving your writing skills to become more deliberate with your choices. And fundamental number 3, find points of emphasis within the melody. So think of these sentences: that I am speaking. Consciously think about the emphasis that I am placing on certain words and syllables. So how you choose to do this creates context, makes certain points easier to understand, and ultimately makes your voice far more interesting to listen to, because it's almost musical. We do this almost unconsciously when talking. So why not adapt this to melody writing or actual music? When you find points of interest or a really juicy note within a melody, it should be emphasized. Like the lighting or positioning of a shot in a movie scene, it helps to make this choice more deliberate by expressing its importance to the audience. You can go from a kindergarten recorder rendition of hot cross buns to musically crafting a message to have the most possible impact within the song. Taking a moment to sing your melody, even if there are no words, or play it on your instrument. Really focus on how you approach each note and the focus that you give it. You will start to hear in your mind the notes within the melody that are asking to stand out more. So do them a favor and give them a platform. Make sure that the chords or the voicings underneath don't clash too much and diminish the effect of these notes. Or perhaps make them clash more if tension is the desired effect. Try to make the surrounding notes around these notes that need to be emphasized more like surrounding notes. These are notes that are setting up the more important notes that need to be emphasized. So they are more or less a means to an end and a stepping stone to these knockout punches that you can deliver when you set them up properly. If you want to learn more about any of the topics discussed on today's episode, or if you'd like to expand your horizons so you can make the most amount of impact with your music, please be sure to check us out at mfile.ca.